for 2024 meeting of the Multimodal Accessibility Advisory Council. This council is a mayoral appointed council that is focused on ensuring that people with disabilities have a voice in our transportation system. And yes, so I'll introduce myself, and then we can go ahead and go through the other MAAC members, and then anyone from the public, and also our friends from DDOT, and also MODA who are here, and there are a few others that will anticipate joining as well. So I'll kick it off. I'm Karthik Balasubramanian. I'm the chair of the MAAC, and also professor at Howard University's School of Business and Information Systems. I have an eye condition called Stargardt's macular degeneration, which puts me in the 40% of DC residents who do not drive, but also the majority of people with disabilities who don't drive in DC. People with disabilities are twice as likely to not own a car or live in zero-car households as people who don't have disabilities. So kind of this is a point of importance. So I'll pass it over to Kelly, and then we can go from there.
Great. Hi there, Kelly Mack. I'm a new member to the MAAC, and I work for the federal government, and I have a lifelong disability and use a motorized wheelchair for my mobility, and I do not drive. I will pass it on to Zach.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Zach Smith, District Department of Transportation. I'm also liaison to the MAAC. I will pass it to my colleague, Karryn.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Karryn McAlister. I'm also with DDOT, the District Department of Transportation. I am the fairly new, I started in July, Sidewalk Gap Program Manager. I'm not new to DDOT. I've been there for about 5 years, working on pedestrian and bicycle safety issues, but in the last 6 months, I've pivoted, and now I'm solely focusing on constructing new sidewalk in the District of Columbia. And I shall pass it to, let's see. How about Leonard? Have you introduced yourself?
Yeah, my name is Leonard Stevens. I'm from Project Action, and I'm covering for Thomas Mangrum. And this is my first time doing here. So we're talking about based on the winding of the sidewalks on North Capitol Street, where they're doing a lot of construction on the reservoir. So this is my first time here, even on this call right now.
Welcome, Leonard. Do you want to pass it on to someone else, Leonard? Or we can...
I can pass it on to Evan.
Sure, thank you, Evan. My name is Evan Blankenberger. I am an associate director with the Mayor's Office of Talent and Appointments. And we're here today along with my colleague Uno Ezegbu to swear in another member of the MAAC.
Yay, Naomi. Actually, would you like to, and actually Uno, would you like to introduce yourself and then introduce Naomi?
Absolutely. So my name is Uno Ezegbu. I'm the Deputy Director of the Mayor's Office of Talent and Appointments. And as Evan stated, we are here to swear in a new public member of the MAAC, Naomi Hess. And I will let Naomi introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to be appointed today. I'm Naomi. I also work for the federal government with Kelly, actually. And I also have a lifelong disability that causes me to use a wheelchair. I can drive. I choose not to. And I'm looking forward to serving.
Welcome, Naomi. Yes, we are super excited. We still have at least one more vacancy, but we're filling up. And that's we really appreciate the work of MODA to make this happen. We're excited about the 2024, and y'all getting to this point is really big for us. So so maybe we can just finish intros and then we can start with Naomi. Naomi's swearing. Does that work for you, Uno and Evan? Perfect. Great. So Naomi, can you pass it on to someone else?
Yeah, I passed it on to Ashton, who I ran into on the sidewalk this weekend.
Hey, it was nice seeing you, Naomi. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashton Romer. I live in Ward 6, and I do not have a disability, but care a lot about how our built environment impacts folks with disabilities. So I am looking forward to our discussion and learning if there are ways that I can support and assist. So with that, I think I saw George jump on, so I will pass it to him for an intro.
Thank you, Commissioner Romer. Good evening, everyone. I'm George Braryan. I manage the Safe Routes to School and Sidewalk Gap branch at DDOT. I have been at DDOT for about 18 and a half years. Worked on pedestrian safety for many years. Also then worked on bike lanes and trails and Safe Routes to School, but all of those programs have grown, and so we split them up, and I now manage just the Safe Routes to School and expanding Sidewalk Gap program. Good to see you all this evening.
George. Thanks, George. Can you pass it on to the next person?
I got on a little late, had a little trouble getting on, so I'm not sure who hasn't introduced himself.
So maybe Peter?
Hi, everyone. Peter Steffen. I am an attorney advisor at the DC Office of Disability Rights, and happy to be here. I also joined late, so I'm not sure who else hasn't introduced themselves. Sorry, Karthik.
Perfect. So I think we've got everybody except for who hasn't gone. I think it's just Lakeisha, actually. Lakeisha, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great.
Okay. I am Lakeisha Love, and I am the Acting Chief and Transportation Equity Inclusion Officer for DDOT. And thank you.
Welcome. Great. All right. Thanks so much, everyone, for doing intros. So yeah, I will turn it over to Uno and Evan to swear in Naomi, and then we can get started with our agenda.
Excellent. So Naomi, if you want to just raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Naomi Hess,
Will support and I state your name. Having been appointed to the position
haven't been appointed to this position
a public member on the Multimodal Accessibility Advisory Council,
a public member of the Multimodal Mobility Accessibility Council
in the District of Columbia Government,
in the District of Columbia Government,
do solemnly swear or affirm that
do solemnly swear or affirm that
I state your name,
I, Naomi Hess,
will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the laws of the District of Columbia,
and the laws of the District of Columbia,
that I will perform such duties
that I will perform such duties.
as may be assigned to me in this position,
Wait, can you repeat that, please?
as may be assigned to me in this position,
As may be assigned to me in this position,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
without fear or favor,
without fear or favor,
that I will exercise my best judgment
that I will exercise my best judgment
and will consider each matter before me
and will consider each matter before me
from the viewpoint of the best interest
from the viewpoint of the best interests
of the District of Columbia as a whole,
of the District of Columbia as a whole,
and that I will faithfully discharge said duties.
and that I will faithfully discharge such duties.
Excellent. Congratulations. You are now a member of the MAAC.
Great, thank you so much.
All right. Welcome.
Excellent.
So thank you so much, Uno and Evan. I really appreciate your help. Today, our major agenda item is a sidewalk gap analysis from our friends from DDOT. So we'll turn it over to them, and then we'll have from there we'll have a general discussion for particular issues, and also a discussion about our 2024 agenda. So thanks so much, folks from MODA, and I will turn it over to Karryn and George.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so George and I will sort of tag team on this. I have a few slides that I'm going to share in just a moment, and then you'll probably hear from both George and I about the program. And so, you know, you can ask questions during if you like, or we could hold it to the end, whatever the council's preference is. Okay, so this is a new platform for me, so let me figure out present now. See if I can figure this out. I think I want this. All right.
Perfect. Yep, we can see it.
Cool. All right, so y'all know me, Karryn McAlister with DDOT. All right. Okay, cool. So I wanted to give, or we wanted to give a little bit of background, a little bit of history of how sidewalks have been built in the District of Columbia. So what are we in 2024 now? So it wasn't until 2002, right? So like 22 years ago is when, that's actually a long time, is when the district started to pay for the full cost of construction. But prior to 2002, the district asked residents, property owners along a block to go in half for the construction of the sidewalk. And as such, as going, you know, paying for half, district residents could vote. And if half, I think it's half, maybe it's 51%, I don't know, said yes, then it would go forward. But if you didn't have, you know, that 51% or 50%, whatever it was, George may know, then there wouldn't be sidewalk constructed. So that's that first bullet. So in 2002, that changed. And so the district took full responsibility for the financial, all the financial construction within their right of way, constructing the sidewalk. And then 2010, 8 years later, the Priority Sidewalk Assurance Act was enacted, and that required sidewalk on at least one side of the street where pedestrians are legally permitted. So that means, you know, not on freeways, highways, you know, pedestrians are not allowed there to walk, but anywhere where pedestrians are legally allowed, we require sidewalk at least on one side. And there's sort of the next two bullets talk about like the mechanism, how were we going to do this? And so one idea was, if there's going to be some kind of construction anyways, let's do it then. But you know, not every street's going to have construction. And so there was a prioritized system so that with the pot of money that was available, you know, we could construct sidewalks. And so some of the those metrics were, you know, how close was the gap or the, you know, the sidewalk that was needed to things like schools, parks.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm doing my best to try to get in, but
yes. Welcome.
I don't make it
Thomas,
easy.
hello. Welcome.
Lord Jesus.
Thomas, can you hear us? Thomas, can you hear us?
I see some faces and whatnot, but nobody's moving the faces like a still thing.
Yep.
I don't know what to do.
Yep. Can you hear us? Thomas, can you hear us?
I'm still trying.
Thomas, can you hear us?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Thomas, can you hear us? I think, yeah, maybe we can. Yeah, I think Leonard, can you, are you able to connect with Thomas? I think
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Are you with Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear nobody. If y'all trying to talk to me, I don't hear no one.
Thomas is me, Leonard.
So, yeah, I think, do you have, so Leonard, are you with Thomas?
Yes, from Project Action, representing Project Action.
Super. So Leonard seems like can't hear us. Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and continue?
Could somebody help me for next time? Y'all can't help me get in today, maybe next month.
Yeah, or
the second Wednesday.
The second Wednesday at 5:30.
Because I need help with this.
Yep. So we've been in touch with Susan.
Not picking me up that well. Oh, goodness gracious.
We'll be in touch with Susan again, and she can set you up again. Yeah.
Like I said, I still can't hear nobody talking. I see the thing that comes along for the voice, but I don't hear no voices.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we can. Thomas.
Oh yeah, I hear something now.
Oh, okay, wonderful, great. Thomas, can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay, great, excellent. Yeah, so we're having a presentation on sidewalks by our friends at DDOT.
Okay.
So, thanks so much. So, Karryn, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad everyone can join in here. I know how frustrating that is when your AV is not working. Okay, so the only thing you missed is, Thomas, was that as I was talking how you used to DC residents used to have to pay for the construction of sidewalk, like go in half with DDOT, but that was like before 2002, and then in 2002 a new law was enacted, and so DDOT pays fully for the construction, and we were gonna, policy was enacted in 2010, which said if you're gonna do some road construction and there isn't sidewalk, go ahead and add the sidewalk, right? That makes sense. But not every road's gonna have a major construction project, and so instead, those segments would be prioritized and put, we can't do all the sidewalks at the same time. So we would have a prioritization based on proximity to schools, parks, recreation center, transit, safety, meaning like how many crashes have occurred along that roadway, either pedestrian crashes, vehicle crashes, bicycle crashes, things like that. And also we would take petitions from residents. More in 2015, that was, DDOT, I guess more like solidified that into like a formal policy document that we follow. But fast forward to 2023. So just last year, we launched, I would say, the Sidewalk Gap Construction Program 2.0, right? So a lot of things have improved, right? So the slide, that last bullet says strategic data-driven approach to sidewalk construction. And so what that means is it really is data-driven. So we completed last year a full inventory of all of the District of Columbia. And we were able to field verify, meaning that we went out there in person and said, yes, there's no sidewalk here. We were able to confirm yes or no, and we were able to take pictures and gather data. If there is no sidewalk, we wanted to know, like, how complicated would it be to build the sidewalk? So we made notes about issues such as was there slope, or is there slope, like the topography? Is there a lot of trees and vegetation? And what about utility poles and conflicts like that? So we gathered all this data. We digitized it, meaning that we made a, in GIS, Geographic Information System, So it's all like computerized, it's digital, it's online. We have a dashboard I'm going to share with you at the end of my presentation to kind of take you through it so you know how to use it and how to get to it. But also we assigned every gap of sidewalk, every missing gap of sidewalk a score. And it's called the Sidewalk Construction Index, SCI. And so like the second to last bullet, or I'm sorry, the bullets that say, you know, close to parks, rec, schools, transit, safety, we took all that data, or all those inputs rather, and those make up the SCI score. And I'm going to get into that in just a couple of slides, and so they'll make a little more sense, but just wanted to, you know, preface that. Okay, so that was the busiest slide there. The rest will go less. Okay, so now this is a look at all that data that we've collected. So the second column, well, okay, the first column is the wards 1 through 8. And then the second column are the number of missing sidewalk segments. And a segment is usually a block, but alleys sometimes kind of mess up that. And so it's not always a block, but it's usually like a block. And then the third column is how many miles of missing sidewalk does that total? And then we have a rough estimate, sort of high level estimate of how much it would cost to construct sidewalk, you know, given those, the number of gaps. And so I wish I could point. Let's see if I can use this point. Laser pointer. Okay, cool. I think you're seeing this. Oh, awesome. Okay. Ward 3 here, it has the most sidewalk gaps, 78 miles of sidewalk gaps, followed by Ward 4, you know, nearly 50 miles. And then we have Ward 7, around 41 miles of sidewalk gaps. And then Ward 8, about 18 and a half miles. So, you know, so Wards 3, 4, 7, and 8, most sidewalk gaps. You know, those are where we need to be building sidewalk. And then we're pretty well covered in Wards 1, 2, and 6. You know, just a few miles that we're missing of sidewalk gaps. All right, now how do I start with this?
Karryn, there's a question in the chat. There's a question in the chat. What about sidewalks that are in flood-prone areas?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So would we build sidewalk in flood-prone areas? Yeah, I think we would, but we might have to use special materials or something like that.
Let me maybe you can clarify. It says, what about sidewalks in flood-prone areas? I'm curious, what is it? I'm not sure what that means.
Maybe
Actually, it's based on where I live, and I'm in the Bloomingdale neighborhood at best.
Mm-hmm.
And every sidewalk I go to, they have poor drainage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm worried. I'm curious about that at best.
Yeah. Do you mean what would we do about flooding sidewalks that get flooded?
Correct.
Yeah, that's sort of outside the scope of this program. That would be the drainage program at DDOT. If there's an area missing a sidewalk, we would still build it based on our selection criteria and the prioritization. But anything to do with drainage, that would be a different part of DDOT that would need to sort of step up and work on that.
Okay.
All right. This is Thomas. I have a question. What about the sidewalks that have the tree bed, but the dirt for the tree bed do not come up to the sidewalk? And then when you go past it on a wheelchair, because I'm a wheelchair user, you can easily fall right then the tree bed thing, because the sidewalk is much higher up than where the tree is for the bed for the tree. So what do you can we do something about that?
It sounds like perhaps the tree roots maybe have pushed the sidewalk up
No,
so that
no.
it now is higher than the tree box area. Do you think that's what's happening?
No.
No.
Cause the tree root have interfered with some sidewalks. But what I'm talking about is the sidewalks are smooth and they're not popped up, but the dirt for the tree bed do not come up to the sidewalk. That's what I'm talking about. And not
So,
necessarily the tree root, the dirt
okay.
for the tree.
Huh. So we're losing dirt in the tree bed area.
Right.
Maybe it's like eroding away.
And
Okay.
you could easily tip over in
I
there.
see.
Because
Hmm.
around Providence Hospital, there's a lot of sidewalks that are tree beds. The dirt for the tree bed do not come up to the sidewalk. And like one bus stop I try to go to, thinking for me, I've been using my chair for a while, but other people will just fall right into that easily, and the chair could easily tip over.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. I should jump in here a little bit, Karryn, because
Sure.
that's a really good question, and it's certainly not a good situation anytime you have that drop off into the tree box area. When we built the sidewalks that we have built and will be building as part of this program, these are new sidewalks. They are not about maintenance of existing, and we would not build one with that kind of a difference between the tree bed and the sidewalk. They would all be flush between the tree box area and the sidewalk. That's the standard, and we always follow that. I think in general, there have been already a couple comments that really do kind of sort of connect to sidewalk maintenance. And just to be clear, that what we're talking about is not something to do with existing sidewalk maintenance. The program that Karryn's talking about and that she's managing is sidewalks where they don't exist now, which, as she's shown, is about 230 miles around the district. So I see Kelly Mack put about sidewalk accessibility issues to email ddot.ada@dc.gov. If there's also 311 has a sidewalk maintenance category. So definitely contact DDOT through the proper channels for any sidewalk maintenance issues. But just to clarify, this program is to build new sidewalks where there are no sidewalks existing. Just to clarify. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Like in upper northwest, the 16th area, something like that. But there's a lot of neighborhoods that do not have a sidewalk at all on either side of the block.
Yeah, exactly, Thomas. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. I'll be on the lookout for that, and I will report that to y'all when I see it.
Great.
Right.
All right.
And actually, just to follow up, so this is great. Do y'all happen to have this broken down by the type of road within the ward? So, like, neighborhood, or I guess maybe local / collector / arterial.
We could run that. I don't have it in one of my slides, but yeah, that's something.
You guys are going to talk about prioritization a little bit later, but in my mind, like a prioritization, like if there are any arterial, my guess is probably not, but if there are any arterials, like in my mind, it's like, that's like,
I do. Yeah. I do have, I think, a slide at the end that gets at that, but you're right. Most of the arterials, right. And for folks who aren't, what's an arterial? That's like the higher, that's where you've got like multiple lanes, like Bladensburg Road, right? That's an arterial, or North Capitol is an arterial, or, like the bigger roads, right? So, and we've got those pretty well covered, and they not many. There's like I would say less than a dozen have made it into our program. And that's just because there's already sidewalk there. Which is great, because those are the most dangerous roads that you really need people not to be walking in the street, right? You need them to have a safe place to walk.
And it's the standard, or like, at least for this, and I'm not advocating anything in particular yet, but like, this is just to get one side of the sidewalk. There are 230 miles of road with without at least one side of the sidewalk, one side covered by sidewalk.
No, don't get, it could be, some of the segments have missing sidewalk on both sides, and some segments are missing it just on one side.
Got it.
So it's sort of, there's not, I don't want you to think like there's 232 miles of segments where it's on both sides of the road where it's missing, because that's not the case.
Yeah, I guess what I'm just trying to understand is, like in my mind, like it may be sufficient to have like a single side or one side of a neighborhood street with a sidewalk, but on arterials, on the other hand, like we definitely want both sides. So that is there like,
Yeah.
do we
Well, yeah, no, that's a great question, Karthik. And that is something I've been working on this. We've actually been doing sidewalk gap work for actually since I came to DDOT. It began around 2007, 2008. We got some money from back at the old during the Great Recession from the Obama administration to work on this, and then we've been getting money every year from the feds to do this work. We have focused first on those arterials. Cool. Minor and major. There's really no major arterial out there with missing sidewalks, but there are some minor arterials.
Yep.
And then there's some collectors, and it was always my sort of intent and my emphasis that there should be no higher class road with higher traffic volumes missing a sidewalk on either side.
Cool.
And so we're close to meeting that goal. There are still some collector streets that are missing some sidewalks on one side. I'm on Eastern Avenue, on the border with Silver Spring in Ward 4, and there's a block down here we're going to try to get to because it is missing, and this is a fairly high volume collector. It actually has more like minor arterial volumes. The other thing you bring up is something that our performance management team did a great job of setting up this GIS-based model and all this prioritization filtering system, and if we're going to be able to make some enhancements and some sort of refinements to it in the next year as we work with it for this first year. And one of those is that as we get down into those local streets, those local neighborhood streets that are missing on both sides, I think it's certainly not a priority in the near term, but to get one sidewalk on at least every street, at least one sidewalk on every street in the district before we go to double them up. If it's a low volume neighborhood street, if you know what I mean. And we're not able to sort it that way right now, but we're not into that yet. We're still looking at a lot of collectors and starting to get into some of the local streets that need them. So those are good points. There are 100 different ways to slice and dice this prioritizing. And it is a bit of a work in progress, but I'll let Karryn get back to the presentation.
I'm sorry. This is Thomas. When it comes to the sidewalks, when it comes to areas where you do have a sidewalk, but it goes into the woods and just stops, there's trees, there's no more sidewalks. So I had to turn right back around, go back off the sidewalk a lot of times and wind up in the street. So I'll be leaving caravans of cars because it looked like it's a sidewalk that goes to the other end, but it's not. So do y'all deal with sidewalks like that?
Would love to know that location. Tell Karryn, she will take a look and see, because that's the kind of thing we definitely understand that impact on people with mobility issues. Is it really is a major problem. You can't just step in, can't just keep walking if you're rolling, right? Yeah, good point.
Yeah, if there's and I think that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to fill those gaps. A sidewalk that stops and then you have got nowhere to go and you're like left on your own, and that's where we're trying to continue the sidewalk and fill the gaps and make the network. But I'll show you the map in just a few slides. And so if you can think of, Thomas, the location that you've encountered, we can pull it up on the map and see if we've got it covered in our inventory of things we need to build. Okay, so the next slide, this is the that construction index, the scoring mechanism for each segment that I talked about, the SCI, Sidewalk Construction Index. And so this gives you an idea of the different inputs that go into making the score. The score is roughly 1 to 10, although like 10 being the highest, right? That's our biggest need. If a segment has like a 10, that's like top priority, but we actually don't have any 10s. You'll see in the next slide, I think we're in like the 8s. The 8s are like our highest. But so transportation equity Let's see if I can get this to do this thing again. Yeah, here we go. Transportation equity makes up 20% of the score. High injury network, or it is the segment on the district's high injury network, or the Vision Zero high injury network. That's also weighted at 20% of the score. The functional classification, 20%. And we were, just kind of talking a little bit about that when we say arterial roads or collector roads or local neighborhood streets. That's sort of a hierarchy, right, of the class of the road. So like if it's a arterial, it's going to get more, it's higher, more points. Proximity to schools is 10%. Proximity to parks, recreation centers, and trail entry points, 10%. Proximity, or how close it is, right, to a transit stop, like a metro stop, and then how close is the sidewalk gap to a bus stop. So we take all of this information, and then it gives us a score.
Can you expand a little bit about what is meant by transportation equity and how you come to that measure?
Yeah, and actually I could share later more information, but in general, it's is the sidewalk gap segment, is it in an area that has like a high stress network, meaning like a bicycle network is one thing that comes to mind. If there are no bike lanes, or if they're unprotected bike lanes, so that goes into the transportation equity. Also, like how many minutes does it take to get from your house to like a major employer or services and goods? So if that time is more than other areas, then that would be inequitable, and then that would be a transportation equity area. So if you live in an area, or if there's a sidewalk gap in an area where it takes like 30 minutes to get to the grocery store versus a sidewalk gap that's in an area that's getting like it only takes 15 minutes to get to the grocery store, it's inequitable. It shouldn't take you twice as long to get to the grocery store. And so the areas that those stores are further away, and that's like less equitable. And so that would be an example of one of the many things that go into making that transportation equity score.
That's cool. I'm wondering if inaccessibility is part of it. And I'm thinking about this one bus route that I take where there is at least one stop that is inaccessible to wheelchair users because there is no sidewalk at the stop. So I'm wondering if that's part of the equation for equity.
Yeah, no, that sounds, can you say it again? So there is a bus stop that there's no sidewalk to get to the bus stop?
Right, and no ramp. So it basically, I guess, you could wait in someone's yard, but there's no wheelchair accessible place to get to there in order to get on or off the bus and wait safely.
Yes, and that got to be changed because like a lot of times people don't want you to be on that grass and stuff.
Oh, of course.
Chew me out, and especially when it's raining, because if you try to do that, you're digging up the dirt and stuff.
So it might just a thought about including inaccessibility to public transit might be something to add into the equity equation if it's not already in there in some sort of way.
Right. Yeah. Let me pull up before I leave. I'll pull up I just named a couple of things that came to mind, but I can get the fuller definition, and I like that points that you've made. But I actually think that should be addressed like immediately, and it's I think what I was describing are just larger, sort of land use, things that go into the transportation equity. But that is a very specific issue that should be addressed either by our program or the ADA program, or perhaps the
And it's sort of
our
a
transit program.
Right. It's a convergence of DDOT and Metro. So I wasn't sure how those things were handled.
Yeah, it would be DDOT. It would be DDOT for that sidewalk leading to the bus stop. That's definitely us. If you're able to give me the location, that would be helpful. I'd like to look into that. Either put it in the chat or pass it along.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
And then also just a big picture question. So the SCI framework that you put out right here, this is our, DDOT's goal is to close the gap completely eventually. But what this is about is just scoring every single sidewalk gap so that we can do the highest scoring first, right?
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah, cool. I just wanted to understand that. So this is helpful.
Sorry, I started looking for the transportation equity definition, but I will keep going. I'll get back to it. No, it's a good question. Okay, so then this slide is sort of a breakdown of, so it's an example of how a segment could be scored. So in this example, we've got River Road Northwest between Western Avenue and 46th Street. And this segment, it's not in a transportation equity area, so it just received one point. If it was in a transportation equity area, I think it would have received probably 10 points. I think it's either 1 or 10. And same with the high injury network. You're either on the network, or you're either on the gap is on a high injury network, or it's not. So 1 or 10. And so it just got 1. And then this isn't very close to schools, this missing gap. So it only got 1. But as you get, if it's closer to school, if it's an eighth of a mile, a quarter of a mile, I think it's a half a mile, and then maybe 3/4 of a mile is sort of the measurement. You would get, I think it's 1, 3, 7 or 10 points for the distance. So the closer you are to a school, you would have gotten, if this was very close to school, you would have gotten 10 points.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, Karryn. Is this finalized? Are you guys looking for feedback or, yeah?
Yeah, so this is final for this fiscal year. Our work plan is based on this for what we're building in 2024, but we do want to revisit this for round 2, right? So what we build next year in 2025, we want to look at the SCI inputs, the methodology, so that so the MAAC can send us some feedback.
Cool.
That would be great.
Because there's some libraries, proximity to libraries, parks, and there are potentially other places that we might want to consider as well.
Okay. That's great. Yeah, we would be welcome to getting some feedback. That'd be good. So this is very close to a park. Actually, it's like right smack next to a park. So I got 10 points. This one, it's not very close to a metro station, so just 4 points. And then looks like it's very close to a bus stop, 10 points. And then this is on a fairly Western Avenue, is likely a collector. George, I don't know if you know off the top of your head. So it's a higher classification roadway.
Yeah, River's a minor arterial, I believe.
Okay, no, it's River Road. Sorry, I was thinking Western River Road. Yeah, minor arterial. Yeah. Okay.
So both of those it's right next to an intersection of 2 fairly busy streets. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are big roads, right? Multiple lanes, right? Yeah. So, and then, the functional classification, the high injury network, and the transportation equity, they're weighted at 20%. So they get a little more. And so you can see that this gap got 4.3, so that's not a super high score. And then the next slide, this kind of gives you a breakdown of the scores. Like I said, it's 1 to 10. We don't have any 10s, but in the 8s, there were only 6 segments, and there was only a half of a mile. So not many that were scoring in the 8s, and then the 7 range. 31 segments, almost 7 miles. Missing sidewalk that scored in the 6s, 65 segments. You can see it's kind of going up. 6 miles, about the same. More segments, but about the same number of mileage. This is where it gets like more complicated. And this is something like the sidewalk gap program is starting to figure out, right? There are a lot of segments in the 4s and the 5s, right? This and even the 3s, right? This really is going to make up the bulk of our work. And what we're building in this year in 2024, we're able to work our way all the way down to the 5s. So we have projects that scored around 5.5 that we're gonna address and build this year. So that's good. But there's still a lot of segments still to go. So we can continue to refine the methodology, the scoring to really get the sections that are most in need built first.
And actually, along with the so Peter, you've got a question. Go for it, because I think your question is aligned to this point.
I don't know if it is actually. Do you want to?
Go for it. You should.
Okay, this is Peter Steffen.
This is good. I think we're a small enough group that we can just have a good discussion. So this has been super useful already.
Yeah, attorney advisor at Office of Disability Rights. I'm curious what the total budget is for the program and how much it costs per mile for the sidewalk, just to get a sense, or maybe you already have this breakdown of like, what is the time frame? My understanding, although I'd love to hear you all confirm it, because I've only heard Karthik say the goal is to eliminate all sidewalk gaps, or in other words, have sidewalks everywhere that you've identified. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the time frame?
Yeah, it's gonna take a long time. I will probably be retired by the time all the sidewalk gaps are built. But this year, this construction year, we have our budget is around $5.5 million is generally what we're spending on sidewalk gaps this year. We could get more funds, in future years, but that's a lot of money. And it's actually, this is uncharted waters for us, because in previous years we've only built, a couple of miles, and so we're really we're like tripling. That's what we're forecasting. Building 7 to 8 miles this construction year with $5.5 million. And it's gonna really test our capacity, right? Do we have enough construction companies out there? Do we have enough capacity to do this? Because there's really only we're sort of limited in the construction companies. And will they be able to do all the work that we want? Because we're really ramping it up. This would be 3 times what we've ever done.
Actually, this is about 4 times. I mean, we've done about 1.5 to 2 miles per year, and now we're going to try to do, closer to 8. And so, it's about a 4-fold increase. I think it's, you could do a back of the envelope prediction of maybe, 15 years. I think when we get down to, as you can see, the number of segments in those lower rankings of SCIs, 4 to 5, 1,300 segments. From 3 to 4, 471. So we're getting into we're in the 5s now. We're trying to, and many of the segments that are there in the 6 range, a lot of those are going to be picked up by adjacent new development that's adjacent. Some of you may be aware that there's missing sidewalks on North Capitol Street, but it's next to the old Soldiers Home, and that whole redevelopment project in there is DDOT's going to reconfigure the Cloverleaf at North Cap and Irving to get rid of those ramps, which are really hazardous to cross by people, by pedestrians and cyclists. And so there's a lot of those are getting picked up. But what's going to take a lot of time is those 1,300 segments in the 4 to 5 range. That's where as I was saying earlier, we're going to look, we're not going to, you know, we can take that number and drop it down substantially by not assuming that we're going to do both sides of those local low volume streets. We're going to do one side because that is, I think, a critical goal, that there is at least a sidewalk on one side of every street. And then over the years to come, after we achieve that, we can go in and see if we can't get, you know, sidewalks on both sides of every street, which would be ideal and preferred, but not necessarily the first goal, to get one on both sides of those lower class streets, if that
Sure,
makes
and
sense.
and a follow up to Karen's point about capacity, is this something that companies are specialized to do, or can like road construction companies do sidewalk construction?
I don't think it's really specialized. Would you say that, George?
No, I mean, it is. It's Fort Myer or Anchor Construction or Capital Paving. That's who's going to end up with this contract. Probably either Capital or Fort Myer. It's not at all technically complicated or specialized at all. It's basic. It's some of the most basic construction, in fact. You have to do a little grading. You have to build some knee walls, sometimes some low retaining walls.
Right.
And it's very basic.
Yeah, it's basic, but it's a big project, right? It's
a big project this time because we're going to probably have, I don't know, 10 or 12 active sites simultaneously all through the city going through the whole year. We've never had, I'm managing this program before Karryn took up, before this expansion of this program. I've been doing this for a few years, and I've never had more than 3 crews active in the city at one time doing sidewalk work, because it stretches your inspectors and is harder to maintain. But this, we're going to have, you know, with 44 projects, Karryn, is that the number? 44?
With 49
projects. We're going to be running a lot of crews. And so that's why, you know, we're hiring. We just finished interviews, and have offered a job to someone's going to work with Karryn on the team. That's going to be just sidewalk construction management and working on this program. So yeah, it's new territory, but it's not complicated construction. It's just a matter of overseeing a lot of crews and making sure the quality is good, and what we're paying for the, you know, the taxpayers' money is going to the right, to do the right thing.
Yeah, and then I think the other part of the question was, like, how much is it per mile? We sort of have a high-level planning estimate of about $745,000 per mile. It's an average cost to build a mile of sidewalk. If that's helpful, Peter.
And actually, and along those lines, so it seems like implementability, my guess is it costs more to build 2 segments of a 1/10 of a mile than 1 segment of 2/10 of a mile. Is that right?
Say it again.
So my guess is that, like, from an implementability perspective, like, it costs more to build 2 segments of 0.1 mile that are in different parts of the district than just 1 segment of 0.2 miles.
Oh, yeah, I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
So is that part of the prioritization framework at all? Like, basically, like,
sort of. No, that's a great question. We are going to be, as we began to put together this work plan, which Karryn's got the red lines on the map are all the different spots we're working in. This as soon as we get our construction contract going. Yeah, what we're going to do is there's a charge for mobilization. Every construction company charges a certain amount for mobilization, and if you have to go to lots of discrete project sites, then mobilization charges go up. So yeah, you're right, and we want them not to have to go too far. You know, if we can group them, what we're trying to do is group them. It's not always possible based on the way the prioritization, you know, where the segments come up next. Don't always group well, but we're trying to group them so that they can sort of efficiently do this work. Yeah, and more cheaply. Yeah.
I'm just looking at the chat. 5001 Loughborough Road. Is that the area where there's no sidewalk?
Yeah, we'll need your help. We'll need all your help to build a sidewalk on Loughborough. That is, as you know, Kelly.
It's a difficult area to say the least.
Yeah, because I was around the corner on Arizona, adding a second sidewalk on Arizona, and that was it took me 3 years to get. They kept opposing it. It was finally down to 3 homeowners who opposed it at the end, but we pushed through and got it done. But that is, and it comes right up to Loughborough. And so, yeah, no, that's a very good example of where there are bus stops on one side of the street that doesn't have a sidewalk. A lot of big trees, a lot of well-heeled property owners, which always makes life interesting.
Ashton, you've got a question? Go ahead and unmute
Yeah,
yourself.
so first I did pop something in the chat earlier about senior housing as well, in addition to libraries, maybe integrating those in the next iteration of this. And then my question is, how does this overlap with new developments and building construction? Like, can you, is it possible to overlay a map of, you know, where there's going to be private development and where the gaps are, and see if there are opportunities to partner with developers either adjacent to or across the street from, or like in the spaces where developers are already kind of doing work close to these sidewalks, either from a, you know, mobilization side or even from like a community benefits agreement side or something, so that those entities can take some of the either operational or financial burden off of DDOT, so y'all can implement this more quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's go ahead, George.
Yeah, sorry, Karen. Yeah, that without a doubt. You know, obviously, if there's a missing sidewalk segment in front of a development, even if it's maybe what am I trying to say? A rehab or a repurposing of a structure, we can require them to do that. Off-site sidewalks are challenging. That is something we've never done, because again, the problem is the notification and the negotiating back and forth with adjacent property owners is really something that we have to do. It's really hard to force a developer to go 2 blocks away from where they're building something and say, you need to put the sidewalk in. And then they're like, well, you know, it brings up a whole set of sort of problems that I think would be hard to solve. So, but there's lots of, we've been going through this list for several months, Karen and I, and there are lots of places where we're going to get sidewalks built by developers as part of larger and smaller developments. Certainly the larger ones that go through significant amounts of development review, PUDs often can have that done. We're going to get a lot of sidewalks from developers, but we're always looking out for that. And that development review task is in the Planning and Sustainability Division, where we are housed. And we're every development review session is put out to everybody in our team and all the teams. So we are very we're tuned in to new development and making sure that any opportunity to add a missing sidewalk we'll take with developers. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add that it's already happening. You know, that any new development is being reviewed by DDOT, and we're saying you need to bring the right of way up to standard, which includes sidewalk, ADA ramps, the grass buffer. You know, we have a standard of what our public right of way space shall be. But now with the sidewalk gap program and having this great tool that you're seeing on the screen with the inventory and such, we're able to make even a stronger case for, yeah, you need to build sidewalk, developer, because we are also going to connect to what you're building, because there's been arguments in the past where someone will say, well, why would I build sidewalk? There's no sidewalk anywhere around me. You know, like take Ward 3, for example, where there's not a lot of sidewalk, right? Like Loughborough, right? If we were to say, and so now we're able to say, yeah, we're coming. We have a plan. It's just easier to defend that. Yeah, you need to build sidewalk. All right. Shall I go on and kind of take you guys through the website?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, cool. So I dropped in the chat the link, so you can click on it and follow along. But when you click on the link, this is what you're going to see. And first thing, this on button here, click it. it's and then you'll see all these blue lines, and the blue lines are all the gaps that we need to build. It was just like a preference choice that some people thought it was too busy. So when you come to the website, you don't see the blue lines, but if you want to see all of the work that we're going to do, click on the on button. The red lines is what I was talking about, what we're going to build in 2024. This is our work plan. And so once we start constructing, which will probably be in the spring, probably like March, April, these red lines are going to change colors. And that's on the left, you're going to see when it's under construction, these lines are going to change to orange. And then once they're completed, there'll be a shade of green, like a light green when they're almost done, and then like dark green when they are done. And so this up here where it says, this little tab, it says sidewalk gap and safety. Right now it defaults to what we're building this year, but you could also select the other choice. And this is showing you those green lines, again, what has already been constructed. And we just grouped past years, since this is something new, that this is our new website. So this is, all of George's work, right? From 2016 to 2022, everything that was built. So you can see the green lines. And then, you can, where right now I'm just like zooming in to a segment, and then you can click on a segment and it gives you additional information about so this was built, this is 15th Street Northeast between Hamlin and Girard. And it tells you it was built on the odd side of the street, is 0.07 miles. It's in ANC 5, Ward 5, ANC 5B. And then on the other side of the street, there is no sidewalk. So it's a blue line. And then you can click on it and it gives you information. It's the same, everything, because it's the other side of the street, but it gives you the score. So this is a 4.2. It's the 2900 block of 15th Street. I think that's all the information that it shows you. Yeah. So that's sort of how, or if you wanted to go to 5001 Loughborough Road Northeast, you type in the address. Let's see if it's going to work for me. I got to put in Washington, D.C. Let's see. It's not working. Let me just try like Loughborough. Maybe I have my settings on. Let's see. I don't know why this isn't working. Oh, wait a minute. All right, so we have a glitch. I don't know why it's not taking me, but you should be able to type in the address. I'll take a look at that. It was working earlier, so I'm not sure why it's not working. Other features include you can drop down the second tab, and these are all the wards. So if you just wanted to look at Ward 1, it would, if we had work, if we were, let me pick a different ward because we're not doing work. Okay, so Ward 5, it's zoomed to Ward 5, and because I have on this the what we're going to do in 2024 selected, it's showing here. These are the projects that we're going to build in 2024 in Ward 5. You could go to like, we're going to build some stuff in Ward 8, do that, and so it changes. So you just can change these filters and customize your search. Or you could just not have it on, and you could just kind of look around, and that's the dashboard. But the website has so much more. I won't go into it tonight because they're probably at time I've probably gone over. But up top, just note that there's some tabs here. This one's got a lot of information on it. This is important for property owners. There's a whole process. We don't just go out there and start building the sidewalk. We notify the adjacent property owners, as well as the ANC and the council members of the project area 60 days before construction. And then we also send the plans, like the designs, so you can see what we're building 30 days before construction. And some videos, kind of tells you about like you know, a lot of people think that they have more, that they own the grassed area outside of their home, and oftentimes that's public right of way, and that their property line is much closer to their porch, their front door, their stoop, whatever, than they may think. And so that's something we're going to need to communicate with each of these projects, going out to property owners, showing maps, kind of being like, okay, you know, here's where the sidewalk's going to start, and then, you know, navigating people through the process. So a lot of good information. And yeah, so I'll stop there. Yeah, maybe take questions, or if George has anything to add.
No, I think you covered a lot, and we've got a lot of good questions already. So I don't have anything to add. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, and now we can kind of open it up for a big picture. I'll just start by saying, you know, sidewalks are hugely important to us, and you know, we're thrilled, or at least I'm thrilled to see DDOT like kind of really step up on this, and yeah, it seems like a great tool, and like you know, a great framework, and we're picking up the pace is fantastic. So I think one thing, my guess is that like we at the MAAC will have some feedback for kind of the next iteration of the prioritization framework. So we'll put that together and send it to y'all. But I mean, I'm thrilled.
Great.
My comment. But yeah, anyone else have questions, comments?
This is Peter. I have a quick question about how did you all do the inventory of the sidewalks all over the district?
Yeah,
I know you said you
so
field verified them, but yeah.
right, we had a so it was our performance management team in conjunction with our internet technology IT department. They kind of got us. They got us. I think older data in the survey, the ArcGIS survey 123 tool, if you're familiar with that. So we had sort of a stepping off point of, you know, where the gaps were suspected to be based on that data. And so it was basically an app on our phone that how did we get the initial?
Well, the initial data layers from, I think, 2016 was this last time they did a asset management as part of its, you know, trying to be proactive and understand where sidewalk quality is bad. They did they did it in 2005, and they did it again, I think, in 2016, where they did a sidewalk assessment of the whole city, and that led to a grade of 5 grades, you know, perfect, brand new condition, down to no sidewalk existing, and in between that was, you know, poor, fair, good, which they use for sidewalk maintenance prioritizing, but that also showed where there were missing sidewalks. And so that data layer was the initial layer. But since 2016, I've done about 12 miles of sidewalks with this program, you know, before Karryn came onto it. So we've, so they had, that was, and in addition, other segments had been done here and there by developers. Even asset management did a few segments. And so we didn't know how good or bad that data layer was anymore after, you know, 5-6 years. And so that is why they then, what Karryn was saying, they created this wonderful app on the phone where people could go out and verify whether that segment was indeed still missing or not, and put a little bit of qualitative information in about whether there was slope or trees or utility poles or other conflicts to construction. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Does that help? Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Anyone else? Any other kind of big picture questions, comments, or little picture questions or comments? Excellent. And then actually just a kind of a tactical question. Do you have a sense of when the next prioritization framework is you're gonna start to work on it, so we can get that feedback to you in time for the next round?
I would say by the summer, we'll want to start looking at what we're going to do for 2025. Does that sound right, George? Summer?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. We're gonna, you know, they put a lot of effort and time into this GIS-based prioritization. There's a lot of work they did, and they don't want to, you know, we want to pull together kind of some changes. Can't be too many changes at once, but I think we want to do that so that we can put together a 2025 list that maybe does factor in a few things differently. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
and the things that you guys are mentioning, I don't think those are going to be real heavy lifts, like adding a metric for proximity to senior housing and libraries. I don't think that the technology people are going to have to like reinvent the wheel. It's so I guess that's a good thing, right? So we can take your feedback, you know, and implement it relatively easily. So.
Yeah, we've had some feedback that the weighting might need to be reconsidered. For example, proximity to schools is, you know, one of the 6, and it's only 10%. Equity is 20, high injury network is 20, functional class is 20. I don't, you know, I'm not sure what the right answer is on this, but I feel like we've gotten some feedback that, well, this is right next to us, you know, this is very near a school, and why isn't it a higher score? Like, well, it's because there's, you know, 6 different factors, or 7 in fact, and they're, you know, they're weighted. Some are weighted more than others, and yeah, so we have some issues with the weighting, and we might want to have them fiddle with that. Yeah.
excellent. Yeah, and then Kelly adds proximity to hospitals is another one that.
Yeah, healthcare, accessibility to healthcare. That's a good one.
Yeah, and then actually maybe one other thing, is there a way that we can get kind of the detailed, so George, I know you put in the chat like something, a detailed description of one of the criteria, but
yes,
can you get that for all of them?
Yeah, we have a shorter version and a longer version that we can share. Yeah,
that would be great. Yeah, both would be great.
I was looking for it unsuccessfully here, but I think we can definitely pull that together.
Cool. All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, thank you so much to both Karryn and George for your hard work and on this very, very important initiative. And we'll be in touch with feedback by the summer for you.
Great.
Yeah, and we'll email you that additional information about the I think you're asking about the SCI scores, like what went we can send that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
Cool.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right.
Good night.
Y'all.
Thank you.
So now we'll have open floor, or actually just some follow-up. Maybe what we can do is just quickly sync, now that we actually have some folks that are back on the committee, that we can potentially have a quick discussion on this. I think it would be very useful to have some feedback go back to these folks, so that we can have by the summer they can integrate our feedback into the next round. So I wanted to just put it out there. Is there anyone, so Naomi or Kelly, do either of you feel particularly compelled or interested in taking the lead on just starting to pull together some feedback that we can send to them by the summer?
I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And I don't know if we want to just make it a discussion for next meeting, or if we want to do it on the side. I'm open either way.
Yeah. Maybe what we can do is just create a document, and then we can just keep adding to it. So maybe if you can, just come up with your initial thoughts, and then share the document so that we can add between the meeting and then next meeting we can talk about it. We can talk about it some more, and we can just kind of work our way towards a final document.
Yeah.
Before the summer.
Happy to.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. That sounds great. So then next, wanted to just have open floor for anyone to talk about any other issues, and then it would be great to talk. I'll do a little bit. We're coming up on 7, but it would be good to start the discussion about what our 2024 plan might be. So yeah, open floor for anybody who wants to talk about anything.
Karthik, if it's okay for me to start, I had flagged something for you. You suggested that I raise.
Definitely.
And that is, I received email from the U.S. Access Board about, I can't remember if it was, I think it's upcoming training about designing accessible crosswalks. And I wanted to flag this. I'm happy to put this in the chat and also just see if the Access Board is a resource that DDOT staff subscribe to, follow, those sorts of things, because it is a free federal resource that provides guidance on many accessibility things, but definitely sidewalks. So just wanted to see if that was helpful for folks, and if you want to spread this to others at DDOT who may find this helpful. They provide free webinars. They do all sorts of guidance on all sorts of accessibility items, topics.
And this is Zach with DDOT. Yes, we do subscribe to the U.S. Access Board. I can't speak to that particular training, but I know that we consult their guidance quite often when we put together some of our policies. So yes.
Okay, great. And feel free to spread the word if others at DDOT need to be participating or would like to.
Nice. Then yes, are there other? Oh, Naomi, go for it.
Yeah, I think the last meeting I went to, I brought up the issue with the circuit vehicles in Ward 6. And I was wondering, maybe Ashton or I don't know who else here has been able to look into the accessibility of this, because it's a really great service, but I'm just not convinced that it's accessible.
Yeah. That's so actually just a little bit of background on circuit, or actually Ashton, go ahead.
No, you can go for it, and I'll add on to what you say.
Yeah, so circuit's an initiative of, or it's a private company that that was hired by the Southwest bid, and my guess is that there are other bids or business improvement districts that are focused on improving business in a particular place like Southwest. And Circuit is this private company that basically has long golf carts that charge some anywhere between 50 cents and $2 to go within their service area. And generally service areas are quite small. Yeah, I think, and I had actually had a conversation with their, because it is a pretty interesting framework for just getting like kind of these local, very hyper local trips or facilitating these kind of hyper local trips, on demand service. And I had a conversation when I first saw them with their general manager, and actually invited him to come and speak. Because I think it is a pretty neat model, or could be a pretty neat model for people to get around, and he had accepted. But then a couple days later, he said, "Oh, my higher up said that I shouldn't participate in this meeting yet. My guess is that they're worried about they're actually not. They haven't kind of conformed to ADA guidelines yet. So that's my guess. But it is something that, you know, I would love to see kind of more more mobility options like this be accessible. So Ashton or Naomi, and Ashton, anything to add?
Sorry, I was navigating over. So I did happen to run into the gentleman who I think is part of the team on the circuit corporate side who interfaces with the Southwest bid, and mentioned this to him. And he said it was something that they're actively working on, I think, or at least in making moves to actively work on. And I'm in touch with the bid with a request to just put it out there that we're hearing from folks that this is a need in the community. So if I hear anything, I'll definitely keep you posted, but hopefully we can get some improvements to it, because I agree it's a big issue that it's not accessible to everyone in Southwest, given that it's meant to be, like Karthik said, a really great local mobility resource. So thank you for flagging that, Naomi.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's especially frustrating because the circuit website and the app both kind of brag that they're accessible. Like there's a setting on the app to turn on accessible options. There's a section on the website where it discusses their accessible vehicles. So I'm just kind of disappointed that this wasn't thought about when they were bringing it to Southwest, because it seems like there are other places that do have accessible circuit vehicles. But yeah, thank you for looking into it, and definitely let me know if there's anything I can do. I would definitely be using it if it was functional for me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is something that, like, maybe this is something that we can just write a quick letter to them and just say, hey, like, we care about mobility for people with disabilities around the district. We're the Multimodal Accessibility Advisory Council, and we're hoping that there's a lot of promise in the circuit model, and we're very excited about it. But we're unfortunately, it's not. It's clearly not accessible. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's like a kind of a quick win that we can notch, or we can write the letter. What do you think about that, Naomi?
Yeah, I think that's great. If you want me to lead that or to lead with Ashton, since this is her area too, I'd be happy with that.
It would be, yeah. I mean, I think if you're up for it, I think it would be great if you wanted to take a lead, and then we could. I think these are the types of quick things that I think we can do, and we can make a mark and make a stand and put a flag in the sand, or I'm getting my metaphors mixed up, but plant or say something and then move and then hopefully that spurs some action. That's great.
And Naomi, I'll push on my end too. So hopefully the more people that they hear from, I feel like the stronger case we'll have. So
great.
Thank you for doing
I will work on that and be in touch.
Hi, this is Thomas. Hopefully, next month I'll be able to get into the meeting a lot easier than this, and this time, and I hope to see some of y'all in person. Some of y'all might know me, but I hope to be in your presence one day if we have a meeting like that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually a great question, and a great point. So I think it would be great to meet in person. What do folks think? So
I'm the only one, huh? Okay.
Oh no, or you're at least, so you're one and I'm two. Peter is saying three.
I'm not a member, but I'm in favor.
Okay.
I'd be open to it, but Wednesdays would be a little hard based on my work schedule, unless it was if it was at 6 instead of 5:30, but I couldn't get anywhere by 5:30.
Got it. Yeah, and we also can change the time too. So now that we've got new folks. So Kelly, do you have a thought?
Yeah, I've been a member for a while, but I've been having trouble trying to get in. But I'm glad I was able to get in this time.
Yeah, definitely. So it should be a recurring meeting on your calendar, Thomas. So
it is.
Okay, cool. But sorry, Kelly, what do you think about meeting in person at some point?
I'm open to that. I would say I think the regular virtual is easier for me, but once in a while it would be good to see folks. So
yeah.
Even if we just get together for a luncheon or a picnic or a party one time a year, that'd be good.
Yeah. What do we, so I thought maybe one place that might be good to gather in person might be the Central DC Public Library main branch, MLK. They actually have pretty easily reservable rooms, and it's like very central because it's a block away from basically every metro line. Would that work for folks?
Yeah, that worked for me because I'm in the neighborhood of that.
Nice.
So that's why in my neighborhood. So that'd be good for me.
yes, my only other caveat would be hopefully warmer weather. I just hate cold and snow. So
warmer weather. Yes.
Yeah, that's actually another thing is the hybrid option. Yeah, so I think regardless of if we, I think that's a pretty easy thing that we can do is create have a and in fact, actually, I think the DC Public Library has an accessibility space, or it I think it used to be on the second floor, but they have a space in a conference room that's specifically equipped with video conferencing that is specifically focused, usable, and reservable for people who have accessibility needs. So yeah, we could totally do hybrid, for example.
Okay. All right. Bye, y'all. Have a safe weekend.
Yep. So we just thanks so much, Thomas. So I think we have lost quorum, unfortunately, but we can. So we're coming up on 7. I think what we can do is next month we can reconvene as normal, and then we can kind of talk about the potential for shifting to in-person once in a while / hybrid. But yeah, I think that was kind of a great point. And yeah, I think we're in good shape. I want to next month, we're a bit out of time, but next month I would like to pick up the 20 or the report card that we had talked about last year. We also have the performance oversight hearings that are coming up in February, and so we'll take a shot at that. That'll be a kind of a way for us to just talk about what was done last semester or last year and what's coming up for next year. So just stay tuned for that. I'll send out an email about the kind of the rough cut of the testimony. Feel free to weigh in on anything. And so I think next month we'll have our meeting, kind of same time, 5:30 on Wednesday, second Wednesday, and same link, same place, and we'll have, among other things, a discussion of the report card, and then we can start to build out our 2024 agenda.
sounds good. Hope you feel better, Karthik.
Thanks, Kelly.
It's going around. I had something 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Naomi, Peter, Zach, Neha, and Ashton. We will reconvene on February. We'll convene on the second Wednesday of February at 5:30.
Thanks. Take
All
care.
right. Take care, everyone.